Hi friends, today we are going to discuss biochemical techniques part first. The learning objectives of this lecture are spectrophotometry, mass spectrometry. Let's first discuss spectrophotometry. It is the quantitative measurement of reflection or transmission properties of a material as a function of wavelength. Spectrophotometry uses photometers that can measure a light beam's intensity as a function of its color, known as spectrophotometers. The instrument operates by passing a beam of light through a sample and measuring the intensity of light reaching a detector. Important features of spectrophotometers are spectral bandwidth and percentage of sample transmission, the logarithmic range of sample absorption, and sometimes a percentage of reflectance measurement. When a photon encounters an analyte molecule, there is a chance that analyte will absorb the photon. This absorption reduces the number of photons in the beam of light, thereby reducing the intensity of light beam. Now coming to the principle of spectrophotometry. A spectrophotometer consists of two instruments, namely spectrometer for producing light of any selected color and photometer for measuring the intensity of light. The instruments are arranged so that liquid inacquaint can be placed between the spectrometer beam and the photometer. The amount of light passing through the tube is measured by the photometer. The photometer delivers a voltage signal to display a device, normally a galvanometer. The signal changes as the amount of light absorbed by the liquid changes. When a monochromatic light passes through a solution, there is usually a quantitative relation as per Beer's law between the solute concentration and the intensity of the transmitted light. That is represented as here, where the I sub 0 is the intensity of the transmitted light using the pure solvent and I is the intensity of the transmitted light when the colored compound is added. C is the concentration of the colored compound and L is the distance of the light which passes through the solution and K is the constant. Now let us illustrate the experimental procedure of spectrophotometry. The following simulation illustrates the procedure for making the spectrophotometric measurements. First, the intensity of the light at I sub 0 passing through the blank is measured. The intensity is the number of photons per second. The blank is a solution that is identical to the sample solution except that blank does not contain the solute that absorbs light. This measurement is necessary because the cell itself scatters some of the light. Second, the intensity of the light represented by I passing through the sample solution is measured. Third, the experimental data is used to calculate two quantities. First, the transmittance and second, the absorbance. The transmittance is simply the fraction of a light in the original beam that passes through the sample and reaches the detector. There are two major classes of devices. A double beam spectrophotometer which compares the light intensity between two light paths, one path containing a reference sample and other the test sample. And other device is a single beam spectrophotometer which measures the relative light intensity of beam before and after a test sample is inserted. Spectrophotometers use a monochromator containing a diffraction grating to produce the analytical spectrum. The grating can either be movable or fixed. Arrays of detectors such as charge coupled devices CCD or photodiode arrays PDA can also be used. The sequence of events in a modern spectrophotometer is as follows. First, the light source is imaged upon the sample. A fraction of light is transmitted or reflected from the sample. Third, the light from the sample is imaged upon the entrance slit of monochromator. Fourth, the monochromator separates the wavelength of the light and focuses each of them onto the photodetector sequentially. Now let us discuss our next topic, which is ultraviolet visible spectrophotometry. It also refers to absorption spectroscopy or reflectance spectroscopy in ultraviolet visible spectral range. This means it uses light in the visible and adjacent near UV and near infrared ranges. The absorption or reflectance in the visible range directly affects the perceived color of chemicals involved. In this region of the electromagnetic spectrum, molecules undergo electronic transitions. This technique is complementary to fluorescence spectroscopy, in which fluorescence deals with the transitions from the excited state to the ground state, while absorption measures the transitions from the ground state to the excited state. The Beer-Lambert law states that the absorbance of a solution is directly proportional to the concentration of absorbing species in the solution and the path length. Thus, for a fixed path length, UV visible spectroscopy can be used to determine the concentration of the absorber in a solution. It is necessary to know how quickly the absorbance changes with the concentration. This can be taken from the reference or more accurately determined from calibration curve. There are some terms which need to be understood before getting into the spectroscopy. One such term is molar absorption coefficient or molar extension coefficient or molar absorptivity. It is the measurement of how strongly a chemical species absorbs light at a given wavelength. It's an intrinsic property of the species as represented in the formula, where the actual absorbance is represented by A of a sample also depends on the path length L and the concentration C of the species according to Beer-Lambert law. Now coming to the principle of ultraviolet visible absorption. Molecules containing non-bonding electrons can absorb the energy in the form of ultraviolet or visible light to excite these electrons to higher antibonding molecular orbitals. The more easily electrons are excited, the longer the wavelength of the light it can absorb. Now let us discuss the applications of UV visible spectroscopy. UV visible spectroscopy is routinely used in analytical chemistry for quantitative determination of different analytes, such as transition metal ions, highly conjugated organic compounds, and biological macromolecules. Spectroscopic analysis is commonly carried out in the solutions, but solids and gases may also be studied. A UV visible spectrophotometer may be used as a detector for HPLC. The presence of an analyte gives a response assumed to be proportional to the concentration. UV visible spectroscopy is also used in the semiconductor industry to measure the thickness and optical properties of thin films on a wafer. UV visible spectrometers are used to measure the reflectance of light and can be analyzed via Bloomer dispersion equations to determine the index of refraction and extinction coefficient of given film across the major spectral range. We will now briefly discuss our next important technique, microspectrophotometry. UV visible spectroscopy of microscopic samples is done by integrating an optical microscope with UV visible optics. White light sources, a monochromator and a sensitive detector such as charge coupled device CCD or photomultiplier tube PMT can be used. Modern instruments are capable of measuring UV visible spectra in both reflectance and transmission of micron scale sampling areas. The advantage of using such instruments is that they are able to measure microscopic samples but are also able to measure the spectra of larger samples with high spatial resolution. Now let us discuss our next technique, that is the mass spectrometry. Mass spectrometry is an analytical chemistry technique that helps to identify the amount and the type of the chemicals present in the sample by measuring the mass to charge ratio and abundance of gas phase ions in mass spectrum. Now, what is the mass spectrum? A mass spectrum is a plot of an ion signal as a function of mass to charge ratio. The spectra are used to determine the elemental or isotopic signature of sample, the masses of the particles and of the molecules, and to elucidate the chemical structure of molecules such as peptides and other chemical compounds. Mass spectrometry works by ionizing chemical compounds to generate charged molecules or molecule fragments and measuring their mass to charge ratios. In a typical MS procedure, a sample which can be solid, liquid or a gas is ionized, for example by bombarding with electrons. This may cause some of the sample molecules to break into the charged fragments. These ions are then separated according to their mass to charge ratio, typically by accelerating them and subjecting them to an electric or magnetic field. Ions of the same mass to charge ratio will undergo the same amount of deflection. The ions are detected by a mechanism capable of detecting charged particles such as an electron multiplier. Results are displayed as spectra of relative abundance of detected ions as a function of mass to charge ratio. The atoms or the molecules in the sample can be identified by correlating known masses to the identified masses or through a characteristic fragmentation pattern. A mass spectrometer consists of three components. First, an ion source, a mass analyzer and a detector. The ionizer converts a portion of a sample into ions. There is a wide variety of ionization techniques depending on the phase of sample and efficiency of various ionization mechanisms for unknown species. An excitation system removes ions from the sample which are then targeted through the mass analyzer and onto the detector. The difference in the masses of fragments allows the mass analyzer to sort the ions by their mass to charge ratio. The detector measures the value of an indicator quantity and thus provides data for calculating the abundance of each ion present. In mass spectrometry, ionization refers to the production of gas phase ions, suitable for resolution in mass analyzer or mass filter. Ionization occurs in the instrument via ion source through two processes. First, hard ionization technique, which is the systematic rupturing of bond which acts to remove excess energy and restoring the stability to the resulting ion. The resulting ion tend to have lower m by z ratio than the molecular mass. The most common example of hard ionization is electron ionization. The second is soft ionization. Soft ionization refers to the process which impart little residual energy onto the subject molecule and as such result in little fragmentation. For example, fast atom bombardment, chemical ionization, atmospheric pressure chemical ionization, electron spray ionization and matrix assisted laser desorption ionization. Now coming to the last component of the mass spectrometry, that is the detector. The final element of the mass spectrometer is detector. The detector records either the charge induced or the current produced when an ion passes by or hits a surface. An important enhancement to the mass resolving and mass determining capabilities of mass spectrometry is using it in tandem with chromatographic separation techniques. A common combination is gas chromatography mass spectrometry. Similar to the gas chromatography mass spectrometry, liquid chromatography mass spectrometry separates compounds chromatographically before they are introduced to ion source and mass spectrometer. Now coming to data representations. Mass spectrometry produces various types of data. The most common data representation is mass spectrum. Certain types of the mass spectrometry data are best represented as a mass chromatogram. Types of the chromatograms include selected ion monitoring, total ion current, and selected reaction monitoring, among many others. Now coming to the data analysis. Mass spectrometry data analysis is specific to the type of experiment producing data. General subdivisions of the data are fundamental to understanding any data. Many mass spectrometers work either negative ion mode or positive ion mode. It's very important to know whether the observed ions are negatively or positively charged. This is often important in determining the neutral mass, but it also indicates something about the nature of molecules. Mass spectrometry can measure molar mass, molecular structure, and sample purity. Now, how do we interpret mass spectra? Usually, the first strategy for identifying an unknown compound is to compare its experimental mass spectrum against a library of mass spectra. If no matches result from the search, then manual interpretation or software assisted interpretation of mass spectra must be performed. Now let us discuss the applications of mass spectrometry. Mass spectrometry has both qualitative and quantitative uses. These include identifying unknown compounds, determining the isotopic composition of elements in a molecule, and determining the structure of a compound by observing its fragmentation pattern. Mass spectrometry is an important method for the characterization and sequencing of proteins. The two primary methods for ionization of whole proteins are electrospray ionization and matrix-assisted laser desorption ionization. Now let us discuss the disadvantages of mass spectrometry. This method often fails to distinguish between optical and geometrical isomers and the position of the substituent in ortho, meta and para positions in an aromatic ring. Also, its scope is limited in identifying hydrocarbons that produce similar fragmented ions. With this, we conclude today's lecture. We will be meeting again with second part of this lecture titled Biochemical Techniques. Hope you have understood the lecture. Thank you.